All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Marguerite Crespillo, and it is time for Tuesday Tune-Ups. My voice is actually finally starting to come back a little bit, but it still sounds a little rough. So excuse the sexiness of my voice this morning. Probably that, and it sounds congested, but it is what it is, right? I've had this cold that's dragged on for a little bit. I've been sucking down all my witch's brew and all my vitamins and supplements and everything, but I am glad you're here. So on today's topic, what we're going to talk about is how to survive and thrive in challenging times. I originally wrote this class in March of 2020. And if anybody remembers what happened in March of 2020, it's when the whole world came to a stop for COVID, right? And everybody, including myself, was a little freaked out. We had no idea what was going to happen to the real estate market. We certainly didn't know that it was going to blow up like it did, right? Like I remember thinking, wow, who knows how long I'm going to be at home. I better get my home office set up. So I went and ordered a building that I put out at the edge of my property so I could have a home office. And I was making all these plans. I was hunkering down. We're going to talk a lot about some of the stuff that I started doing. But the reality is that the market went insane instead of what a lot of us thought would happen, right? And so the truth is that change is inevitable, right? And growth is optional. Change happens. I've been in this industry now for going to be 30 years in December. And what I can tell you is that I have been through more than one crisis. I mean, I remember vividly when 9/11 hit and we all thought it was the end of the world. And as tragic as it was for all those who were impacted by it, we got through it as a community. I remember when the real estate market started to shift in 2005, long before the bottom hit in 2010. So what's really different this time around is the social media component of what is actually going on. We are more connected than we have ever been in history, right? And this can be a good thing and a bad thing. Part of the challenge with being on social media so much is that guess what? We're comparing ourselves. We're seeing what people post, which is the best of what they do, not the worst of what they do. And we think that, oh my gosh, everybody else is doing so good and I'm sucking it over here, right? And so what happens is sorry, you guys, I had to cough there for a second. When everyone else is experiencing fear, that is the time to maintain courage. I love this quote, right? When everyone else is in scarcity or lack, that is the time to give. And so we really must be able to demonstrate what that looks like to this world. More and more people are no longer controlled by their environment and the circumstances that are outside of them. What do I mean by that? Well, we've become a world, the good thing that came out of COVID is that people now can work from anywhere, right? Like we never imagined we would be doing trainings and calls and all this kind of stuff via Zoom. I mean, that was kind of a different world. We didn't do a lot of stuff via Zoom. Now we can literally have people from all over the world participating in classes and content like this. We can get access to information that is all over the world, not just here. That gives us a ton of ability to really work outside of our little box that we've created, our own little world. What COVID showed us is that it gave us the freedom and the flexibility to be creative and find ways to work around things. My favorite word ever is by one of my favorite mentors in the world, Marie Forleo, who says everything is figure outable, right? And isn't it miraculous what we figured out during COVID? I mean, to me, it's miraculous what people did and what they came up with. I mean, there's the negatives and the goods, but the positives of it is that people figured out how to work from home, how to create side hustles, how to work in ways that they never expected to work. I mean, before COVID, I remember one of the big things brokerages always touted was that they had these big, beautiful offices. Well, all that went to hell in a handbasket when nobody could go in the office anymore, right? And cloud-based companies, including the one I work for, EXP, have become the norm. Cloud-based training and Zoom calls and all these things, even with clients. I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined I would have done Zoom calls with clients. And now that's becoming more common than not, right? And so we really have to think about what are the mistakes that we made and what are the positives. So I'm going to talk about some mistakes that I made during some of the biggest challenging crises in history. For example, one of the biggest mistakes I made was not looking closely at expenses and income. When the money's flowing and life is good, where money is going out like it's water, right? We're not paying attention. And one of the big mistakes that I made during the REO crisis and others is not really paying attention to what those expenses were versus the money coming in. One of the big mistakes I made during REO was not cutting people and things loose fast enough. In times of challenge, you have to do what is best for you and your family. And you may have to set aside pride and ego, right? Just because you have this like beautiful, $150,000 Mercedes when the market is good, doesn't mean you can still afford to drive that Mercedes when the market starts to shift. So some of the mistakes that I made again during the worst market in history was not looking closely at expenses and income. There's a great app you guys can get called Mint, and Mint downloads. You can add all of your credit cards and your bank stuff and all that, and you can actually see what you spend every day, and it's pretty shocking. You can start to see how literally every day a $10 charge happens here. You spent 20 bucks at Starbucks. You spent 50 bucks on lunch. You stopped and got gas and that was $100. And, maybe you start at the gas station, you also got a soda and a candy bar for another 10 bucks. I mean, you can easily in one day spend $200, $300, $400, $500 and not even blink if you're not paying attention, right? The third biggest one was not staying in better contact with my database. During times of crisis, people do one of two things. Either they bury their head in the sand or they rise to the occasion. And what we're seeing right now is a big shift in our industry and things changing. We don't have the inventory that we've had. Not as many people are anxious to sell their homes. Interest rates have gone up, which are not really that high in the scheme of things. But you have to keep in mind, we have an entire generation since 2010. So that's 13 years that have not seen anything but values increase and interest rates drop. And now we're seeing for the first time in 13 years, normal interest rates. Those of us old OGs who've been around for a while, remember these interest rates from back in the day, and they didn't stop us. But when you have an entire generation of consumers and real estate agents, that's all they've ever known, this is a big adjustment. And we will, as I've said, we'll probably lose 30 to 40% of the agents in the industry. You're already seeing a mass exodus from the mortgage industry, right? So all those loan officers that hopped in to, just do refi mania are now like, oh, wait a minute. And they're calling on real estate agents, and the real estate agents are, well, you're the 14th lender that called on me today. So, the thing is, this is the value of staying in relationship. A lot of the good longtime loan officers that have been around have long-standing relationships with real estate agents that they've been working with during good times and bad times. And the real estate agents who stayed in contact with their database are doing great right now. So one of the big mistakes I made back in 2006 and 2007 was not staying in contact with my database as good as I should. If you guys don't have a database, you know that I preach about that all the time. So I'm not going to go into that today. So just keep in mind, these are things that were really important. The last one, not asking for help. Like I said earlier, one of the big things many agents do is all of a sudden, when times are tough, they bury their head in the sand. And they hide themselves and they're embarrassed and they're uncomfortable. And you might feel like you're the only one who's struggling right now. And that is far from true. Lots of people are having challenges and struggling, but there are lots of people that are doing extraordinary, that are finding ways to get business. I was talking to one of my coaching students yesterday, and she's very well known in the Russian and Ukrainian community. And she says, Marguerite, when that Dream Home Loan program just came out that everybody's talking about, it's all over social media, right? She literally sat down and called 70, called and texted 70 of her clients. She's got 37 clients right now that she is actively working with that are in the process of getting pre-approved. She literally sat down, called and texted and said, hey, I have something really important to talk to you about. There's not a lot of room for this program. Get back to me right away. And she's got 37 people that she is in communication with that are in the process of getting pre-approved that she's working with. So will all of them work for that program? Probably not. But the reality is she has 37 people who raise their hands, right? So there are people that are finding ways and getting out there and asking for help. Don't bury your head in the sand. Now is the time more than ever that you need to make sure that you're reaching out and asking for help. Okay. So in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Love this quote. Because again, when COVID happened, there were people who did nothing, who just panicked and locked themselves in their houses and didn't come out for 2 years. And there were people that got really creative, right? And they got connected and they found ways. They went out and researched and they listened. Just the fact that you guys are on this Tuesday tune-up today shows that you're head and shoulders above the rest, because education is important to you, right? And learning from other people and listening to other people. Sometimes maybe you don't learn anything. Sometimes you just feel like you can relate somehow, right? Like, oh, maybe somebody else is going through the same thing that I'm going through, right? So what can you do to get around people who will inspire you and excite you and help you find ways to get creative and find ways to get business? So let's talk about getting creative and getting connected, right? Number one, you guys hear me preach this all the time. I talk about it in my Sales Shield program. Get on the phone, like pick up the phone. Some of you guys are not picking up the phone, right? You're trying to screw around on social media. Maybe you're even texting, which I get, texting is kind of the new way. But the reality is when you can hear somebody's voice and you can spend that time talking to them, even if it's just for 5 minutes. One of the things that came up again with my coaching client, she goes, I get on the phone and I'm 45 minutes on the call. I said, so here's the trick. You get on the phone and you say, hey, Dave, this is Marguerite. I got just a quick 5 minutes because I'm walking into a meeting, but I had something really wanted to share with you quick. Do you have a good 5 minutes? Right? And then you get permission from them and they know that you only have 5 minutes. Okay. So get on the phone, send out some emails, good old fashioned email. I know some of you youngins don't read email, but a lot of people, email still works. Send out an email. You guys get my emails every week. Some of you read them, some of you delete them, some of you unsubscribe. At the end of the day, you're getting emails and you're communicating with me, right? Reach out to your community. There's no better time ever than when things are in a state of change to reach out to your community. Talk to your people, get involved, go out, see what you can do to help other people. What I know is that if each of you go out and you make it a goal to help somebody else today, you'll be amazed at what starts to come back to you, right? Doing virtual open houses. I know that we don't necessarily need to do those anymore, but guess what? It's a great way to get out, preview homes, go look and see what's going on out there. Do virtual open houses, do Facebook Lives with them, do anything you can to connect with people online, right? Have them follow you through an open house. Do some fun, creative things in the open house, all kinds of stuff, right? People love to see fun and creative ideas. Right now, even you can do what are called inside-outside open houses. You can partner with somebody else, either a couple other agents, some lenders, whatever you want to do, but set up a pop-up tent out front with sodas and water and signs and balloons. And then when people drive by, wave them down, pull them in, get them into the open house, right? Other things that you can do is, of course, making sure that on all of your listings, you're doing 3D and Matterport. That's pretty common now. Video walkthroughs that uploads to YouTube Shorts is becoming a popular thing right now. Doing a 60-second walkthrough into a house can help you get attention on YouTube Shorts. And you can also, if you want to do a private walkthrough for a client and you're having connection issues or whatever, you can upload that to YouTube and set the settings to private to share only with your client. Thank you to my good friend Leslie Peralt for that idea. Making sure that you have measurements of rooms in a home. That could even be a fun video. Go out and say, hey, we're going to go measure rooms, right? I know it doesn't sound fun, but you can have some fun with it and measuring rooms and showing a video of what you do to make sure you're there to help your clients. So these are just a few ideas. This was an example of somebody who did this was during quarantine, during COVID. They did a Facebook Live open house, right? So they just basically posted a day before or that morning, hey, we're going to do an open house live online. Come join us. And they literally got tons of people to join in on this Facebook Live. I realize like we're back to life and normal, but people still actually enjoy going through houses. It's like one of the things that people still really enjoy. So the last thing that we're going to talk about here mostly is the importance of staying focused. What happens, oops, somebody let me mute you. Guys, mute yourself. There you go. The importance of staying focused. During times like this, again, it's really easy to get distracted and looking at all the new fancy gadgets and our AD kicks in, right? But staying focused during these times, I'm a huge advocate of vision boards, right? Goals versus priorities is a class that there's several episodes of that on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you guys to go there and watch that if you have not. Creating a support network. Grab a few friends and say, hey, I need some accountability partners. I need someone that makes sure that I show up. I have 2 groups on my phone of people where we post each day things that we're doing, right? And we also have a great accountability group in Sales Fuel as well that you guys can check into if you're interested. And so making sure that you are somehow staying accountable to somebody is really important. Meditation and gratitude journal. You know, it's funny when we get into these pity parties, right? And we all have them. We all have a day when we're like, oh my God, I wish, you know, we could go back to 2022 just one more time. I promise I won't piss it away, right? And the reality is that take a few minutes each day and just write down the few things that you're grateful for. Even if it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, write them down. And when you're going throughout your day, look for opportunities to be grateful. Look for opportunities to take time to yourself. Enjoy the sunshines, the sunsets, the pretty flowers, but make sure that you're also expressing to the people around you how grateful you are for them and what they do every day to help you in your business, right? As I've said before a couple times, ask for help. Ask for help. Make sure that you're reaching out. You guys I'm going to post the link to my calendar at the end of this presentation. You guys can schedule 15 minutes with me, and I'm more than happy to help you with anything that you need to work on your business. But there's so many other people out there too that will help you. Many of you are just not asking. You're embarrassed, you're uncomfortable, you're whatever you are. But the truth is, the most important thing that you can do is ask for help, right? The next thing is, I've got this link here. Let me see if this link will actually work. This was, hopefully it's still there. Yep. No, let's not get the ads. I hate when the ads go by, right? But anyway, there's a link right here. I'll also post this link in the chat so you guys can grab it. And let me post this here real quick. And this was a bunch of different content that I found that you guys can utilize to help you with your business, okay? So that's some ideas and things that you can do. Look for opportunities, right? So I just heard Chris at the beginning of our call saying he was out doing BPOs. If you don't know what a BPO is, Google it. It's basically a broker price opinion. And you can get paid to do BPOs. It's not very much money and it's a lot of work. But this is how I survived the 2006 to 2010 market crash, right? So sometimes some of you guys might need a second job, and we're in amazing times right now. I mean, there's so much opportunity with things like Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, Postmates, online learning, online classes. I mean, I just the other day learned how to create a Etsy page because I wanted to take some of my quotes. You guys know my famous quote, you get paid in direct proportion to your ability to figure shit out, right? So I actually had that quote put on a shirt and on a coffee cup. And I did it in like 15 minutes. I went to Canva, created a design, put it on Printify, found the shirts I liked, and put it on Etsy. And I've sold 2, so I haven't sold a lot. But excuse me. But the truth is, there are lots of different ways that you can find some side hustles if you need it. Maybe you don't need it, but maybe you do. And there's no reason to be embarrassed about that, right? People are doing all kinds of stuff on the side. They're creating, products and clothing lines and workshops and classes and things that you can do to generate some additional money if you need to. I encourage you to first stay focused on your career at hand, whether that's real estate or loans. But there is no shame in providing for your family. And you have to remember that, right? Like that is really one of the most important things. So short sales, there might be some short sales coming back. We're seeing them on the reverse mortgage of short sales. There's not a ton out there, but there are some. EXP has certification classes for REO and short sales and things that you might want to look at. I would not encourage you guys to pay any money for classes or things like this, or paying all this money where they're promising you're going to get REOs and short sales. I wouldn't do it. But education wise, you can definitely start learning what needs to be done and how you can do those different things, right? You asked, is there a source for finding brokers that routinely do BPOs? You mean the people that actually do them or the people that send them out? I'm not sure what you mean there, but there are several. I mean, I did a ton of BPOs. I'm not doing them this round. Chris Miller, who's on this call, is doing BPOs. There are lots of companies that do them, and there are certification classes and stuff like that. We can talk more about that maybe in an upcoming class. I'll talk about BPOs a little bit more. But short sales, there are still some REOs, finding investors, getting a second job. These are all great opportunities, right? For you to find ways to bring in business. What I know is that a body in motion stays in motion. Again, if you bury your head in the sand, nothing is going to happen there. But if you get up and get out and get around people, you'll start to hear things and you'll start to get ideas and you'll get creative, right? So staying positive, you guys, I know that it's not easy when things are getting tough, but it's important. Keep your energy high. Whatever that looks like, get up, go out, get dancing, turn on some great music, whatever that takes to keep your energy up. Get out into nature, sunshine, go for walks, garden. There's something healing about nature, right? It's really important. I started buying fresh flowers to put on my counter because it makes me happy. I love tulips, so I put tulips out in my garden. Some of you might need to read all those books you've been putting off. If you were to spend 10 minutes a day in a book, reading something that can help increase your brain is important, right? I would love to see a list of some of your favorite books, right? Having it with your family, right? Like one of my favorite videos I saw recently, I don't know if you guys saw it, was this gal was sitting on the couch and she was on hold for probably IRS or somebody, right? So you have the hold music that's like, the hold music is playing over and over again. And all of a sudden her husband comes up and picks her up and they start dancing to the hold music, right? So I just thought that was awesome. Like, how cool is that? So when was the last time you grabbed your significant other and danced, right? Just danced in the kitchen or, danced in the living room and cranked up the music and had a good time. Watching comedy shows. You guys all know my husband's a stand-up comedian. So getting out to comedy shows is great, or watching them on TV, right? Playing board games, cooking more. Why do I say all these things? Because sometimes you guys, we get so consumed and in our head with all the other stuff that's going on, we forget to live life. And what I know is the famous saying, be, do, have. You have to be who you want to be first so that you can do what you want to do, so that you can have what you want to have. And people always have it backwards. They think, well, I'm going to be this person once I have this. And that's not really the way that it works. What I do know is that the more fun you have and the more that you change your energy state, being feeling happy and excited and alive and getting around people that feel the same way, is going to dramatically change what's happening in your life. Okay. So this is all I have for today. Here is my schedule, my cell phone and my Calendly link. You can click on that, grab that link, schedule time with me. Okay. And of course, all my social media, be sure to follow me. This will be posted later on YouTube. This class is always open to anybody with any company. So you guys are always welcome to join in. You're always welcome to share. And I love to have you all here. I'm seeing some new faces here today. So thank you guys for joining me. Any questions? Anything I can add? Any ideas, suggestions? No, you're all good. I can't hear you there if you're talking, Neil. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself? There you go.
I wanted to say very good this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have ideas or topics that you would like me to train on, please shoot me an email, text, smoke signal, something. I'm always looking for great ideas on stuff to train on and good guests. So you guys keep your heads up, man. We can get through this. Yes, Dave.
Hey, Marguerite, I am so glad you've covered what you did today, because there's so many people. I'm on the lending side, so I'm the odd man out. I'm the one peeking over the fence today. But it's so many of our clients and so many of us in our own field, whether we're on the realtor side or whether we're on the lender side, need to keep our heads straight. And it's so easy with all the news talking about the doom and gloom. Rates are horrible. The market's going to crash. The real estate bubble is here. We know our clients are hearing that too. And if we don't help them with the narrative in their head, they're going to have the wrong narrative. So I love what you're doing. This is helpful. I'm really glad to have peeked over the fence today. Thanks for letting me join.
Well, you're not the only one. We got Beth as a lender here too. She's awesome.
Oh, hey, Beth.
And yeah, so we've got all kinds of people here. And you guys share this, bring your real estate agents to it. Feel free, just go to margueritecrespillo.com, add your name to my email list, and they'll be sure to get the emails. And, you know, I agree 100%. Like, we need to make sure that we keep the narrative high and keep the energy high. You know, everyone jokes when I say this, you know, I know some of you have been around. That when I bought my house, the interest rate was 10%. We were happy to get it. And people go, well, yeah, but you only paid $260,000 for your house. Well, yes, I did, but the cost of living was a lot lower. Average sales prices were $80,000. Average commission was $2,000, not, you know, 12 grand. So it's all relative, right? And so the reality is that great agents and loan officers do well in any market. And they do well because they get creative and they keep moving and they keep doing the work. So thank you guys all so much for joining me today. Forever grateful. Be sure to follow me on social media. Make sure to add your name to my list. Be sure to share this. It'll be posted later today. You can share it on your socials. And thank you guys for joining me today.